Most people spend years chasing something they genuinely want and eventually end up with something else. Not because what they wanted was impossible, but because somewhere along the way they got tired of waiting and took something easier instead. Think of it like a meal. If you fill up on bread and snacks before the main course arrives, you'll be full by the time the thing you actually ordered shows up. You'll tell yourself the bread was fine. Maybe it was, but deep down you know it wasn't what you came for. That's exactly what many people do with their lives. Most people have something they genuinely want. A relationship that feels right, a career that feels meaningful, a life that actually reflects who they are. Early on, the vision is usually clear. They know what they are aiming for. The problem is that reality rarely moves on the schedule we want. The wait becomes longer than expected. The uncertainty lasts longer than expected. And eventually something appears that offers immediate relief from all that discomfort. The substitute is almost never obvious. If life offered you something clearly worse, you'd reject it immediately. The substitute shows up looking reasonable. It solves a problem. It removes uncertainty. It gives you something tangible when you're tired of waiting for something uncertain. That's what makes it dangerous. A lot of people do this in relationships. They aren't looking for perfection. They simply want someone who genuinely fits. But after enough loneliness, enough disappointment, enough years passing by, someone arrives who is almost right. The difference don't seem significant at first. The compromises feel small. Then those small compromises become years, and those years become an entire life. The same thing happens with careers. Someone wants to build something of their own, pursue a meaningful path, or create work that genuinely excites them. But uncertainty is exhausting. Bills need to be paid. People around them start asking questions. Eventually, a safer option appears. The salary arrives. Life becomes predictable. Everything looks successful from the outside, yet part of them still wonders whether they traded fulfillment for comfort. What makes this difficult is that the substitutes rarely show up when you're feeling strong. They show up when you're hungry. They appear when you've already invested years, when you've already sacrificed more than you expected, when patience starts feeling less like discipline and more like stupidity. That's when the bread starts looking better than it did at the beginning. Most people don't choose the bread because they stopped wanting the main course. They choose it because they're tired of being hungry. And this is where many people confuse relief with fulfillment. Relief is the feeling that uncertainty has ended. Fulfillment is the feeling that you've arrived where you genuinely wanted to be. Those two experiences can feel similar in the short term. Over years, they become completely different lives. Of course, not every compromise is a mistake. Reality changes, circumstances change. Sometimes adapting is the smartest thing to do. The danger isn't changing direction when new information appears. The danger is convincing yourself that something you never truly wanted was what you wanted all along. Most people don't abandon their original goals in one dramatic moment. They slowly negotiate them downward. They lower their standard a little, then a little more, then a little more. Years later, they've become so accustomed to the substitute that they've forgotten what the original goal even looked like. The people who eventually end up somewhere meaningful are not always the most talented or the luckiest. More often, they're simply the people who stayed honest. Honest about what they wanted, honest about what they didn't want, honest enough to recognize the difference between genuine opportunity and an escape route from discomfort. At the end of life, most regrets aren't created by failure. They're created by abandonment, by the moments when something genuinely mattered, but the waiting became very painful and something easier appeared. Maybe the thing you wanted was always uncertain. Maybe there was never a guarantee it would happen. But settling doesn't solve uncertainty. It only makes the decision for you, because relief and fulfillment are not the same thing. And if you are not careful, you can spend years filling up on bread and convincing yourself you are no longer hungry, only to realize much later that the thing you really wanted was never the bread in the first place.